And what is going on, everyone? And welcome to a special edition of Houston Texans football on Bleacher Report. I am one part of your show, Ruben Calavillo. The man next to me, Harley Dugan at TheLead underscore Houston. You just type it in on YouTube, it'll pop right up. Myself, 713 Houston Sports. Want to give a shout out to Bleacher Report allowing us to come on here talk Houston Texans football, and always a shout out to the man upstairs. Harley, how's it going, big dog?
Doing well, man. The NFL Combine is underway. The Houston Texans have met with a plethora amount of draft prospects so far.
Okay.
We're excited about the offseason, excited about the draft. We're also excited about some free agency talk
Mm.
as well. Current players maybe getting an extension thrown their way. There's a lot to get into this episode.
Yeah, so let's start with that one. According to Aaron Wilson, who does a fantastic job covering this team, he's at every game, every training camp, every press conference. He had reported that the Houston Texans and Derek Stingley are looking to get a long-term contract extension done this offseason. Not next year when Derek Stingley is set to be a free agent, but they want to lock him up right now after his first all-pro Pro Bowl season. You know where I stand, Harley. Make Derek Stingley the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. It was never a matter of talent. It
Yeah.
was whether or not he can stay healthy. And this year, he proved it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was the biggest question when it came to Derek Stingley is can you stay healthy for us? Because that's all we wanted. And that's literally been the question for his entire playing career as well, too. When it came to the draft, it was never a question about his talent and his overall potential at the cornerback position. It was always, can you stay healthy? Because if you can stay healthy, then you are immediately going to be one of the best corners in the NFL. And we saw it on the field when he was healthy. But
Mhm.
this year, after backing up last year's end of the year performance, after coming back healthy, had a damn good December last year. This year backed it up with an all pro, first team all pro
Mm.
Stingley nomination. And man, he's been amazing. He deserves every bit, every penny.
With Derek Stingley, we're having a conversations of like, why are they throwing his way? And it felt like towards the end of the season, we all kept on asking the question every single time Stingley came down with the INT. Why are they testing him? But dude, he might be the best cornerback in the game. He definitely deserved this contract extension. If the Texans were to wait till next year, I think that would just not be the right move for them because if Derek Stingley has another healthy all pro season, the price tag is only going to skyrocket.
Oh, for sure. And that's what Aaron Wilson detailed was saying that this is going the Texans want to make this happen this
Mhm.
offseason. So they also know that the tag only gets a lot higher when it comes to the dollar signs attached to Derek Stingley. And he's very humble too. Like he
Mhm.
was on the Pivot podcast and talked about not even worried about it. Like, yeah, every player, a lot of players could say that, but when it comes from Derek Stingley, the way he carries himself, it's extremely similar to
Mhm.
Andre Johnson. Andre's
Very
a
similar.
very much a quiet guy, not someone that's going to be in the camera a whole lot. And
Actions
Derek
speak louder than
Stingley,
words.
exactly that kind of reinforcement, that kind of play right there. I think that statement basically summarizes Stingley and Andre so similarly. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. The Texans need to get this done. They need to get it done ASAP.
You would think the way Stingley carries himself on social media, he would act that way on the field. But no, he's just an entirely different person. Like you mentioned, as humble as they come, he is very awkward in front of a
Mhm.
camera. He can't stop touching his hair. He can't stop touching his face. There was that video that Nico Collins took at the Pro Bowl where he was like,
Yeah.
he's just he's a goofy guy, but we love our goofy guy because he's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. Make him a Houston Texan long term. And let me ask you this:
Hmm.
let's say Derek Stingley gets two more first team All Pros
Okay.
in the next, let's say, 4 years.
Wow. Okay.
how are we talking about him as a corner in this league?
Well, he's already in the conversation for best cornerback in this league. I think the base of the conversation would be, oh, he's a top five cornerback. I think everyone could agree this man's a top five corner in the NFL, no matter the ranking, but he has to be the top five. So you're telling me he gets two more All Pros in 4 years? Derek Stingley is immediately the best corner in the NFL and is on a trajectory of being a Hall of Fame cornerback,
And that's
because
where I
that
was
would
going.
make you to have three-time All Pro, no matter first or second,
Mhm.
three-time All Pro immediately puts you on that path of a Hall of Fame career.
I mean, and if he gets one more Pro Bowl, one more All Pro, we're talking about him being the best cornerback ever for
Mm-hmm.
the Houston Texans. Right now,
Oh,
that is
he's
currently
already.
held. Oh, you think he's already better than
He's
Jonathan Joseph?
as soon as he got the All Pro, I thought this year I was. So I know we had this conversation in the group chat,
Mhm.
and I
Shout out
remember
to the
it
group
was,
chat
yeah. Shout out to the group chat. I remember it was okay. Well, Jonathan Joseph's still better than him right now
right now.
because Derek Stingley hasn't finished this year playing football. But once it was done, once we all knew that Derek Stingley, we all knew he was going to be an All Pro. Immediately, I went, "This is the best cornerback the Houston Texans have ever had in their history." Immediately, and I would say Jonathan Joseph would agree. I think he would. Jonathan Joseph's been in the building. He's worked with Derek
Mhm.
Stingley 2 years ago when he was in the Bill Walsh internship program. So he knows Derek Stingley very well. I would assume he agrees with that statement.
No, I think everyone agrees with your statement, man. And give some respect and love to Jonathan Joseph, but Derek Stingley, man, right now he's just on another planet. Moving on, we heard some news today, Harley. According to Jordan Schultz,
Mhm.
the Houston Texans are very interested in acquiring star wide. I mean, I don't know if I could call him a star anymore, but star wide receiver from the San Francisco 49ers, Debo Samuel. Now, in the tweet, it is not only the Houston Texans mentioned, but it is the Washington Commanders mentioned as well. And, I like the fact that both of these teams are in this conversation. You got, two young quarterbacks, one entering year three in CJ Stroud, one entering year two in Jaden Daniels, right? You know how I always think surround your young quarterback with the best weapons available. The question is Debo Samuel the best available? Is it worth it? How much would it cost you? Harley, were you first surprised that the Houston Texans are rumored to be interested in acquiring Debo Samuel via trade?
Not surprised at all,
Okay.
considering the familiarity between the Niners and the Texans because of that bridge of hiring
Mhm.
D'Amico Ryans. You had Bobby Slowick here before. Like, you have guys here that have a San Francisco 49ers ties in some sort of fashion here with the Texans. So he definitely is going to have some sort of relationship with Debo Samuel. And I mean, immediately when we got D'Amico, one of the biggest rumors was, well, maybe we could go grab Debo Samuel because
Mhm.
he was a little, maybe he could have been on his way out. So yeah, not shocked that the Texans are in on this.
Not shocked whatsoever. Let's look at the stats.
Mm.
2024, Debo Samuel appeared in 15 games, 51 receptions, 670 yards, three touchdowns. Last season, appeared in 15 games, 892 yards, seven touchdowns. 2022, appeared in 13 games, 56 catches, 632 yards, two touchdowns. You go back in 2021, his only year as a
Hmm.
Pro Bowler, his best season, 77 receptions for 1,405 yards, six touchdowns. We also know that he is a threat on the ground, also 365 yards, 232, 225 this year 136. When you talk about a player like Debo Samuel, you're talking about a Swiss Army knife, a wide receiver that can do many things. Now, Where it all went wrong, I have no clue, Harley. I really don't know. Now, of course, the contract situation got Debo Samuel and the 49ers into confrontations and happened that way also with wide receiver Brandon Ayuk. To me, it is how much is this going to cost the Houston Texans? Is it a third rounder? Because
Mm.
I'm still having some questions if it's a third round pick. You're not touching my second. You're not touching my first. Man, I mean, I'm even gonna be stingy with the fourth round, with the fourth rounder also. I love the name. I love that we're in the conversation of getting Debo, but I would much rather go younger because it looks like Debo Samuel is on a decline as he enters into, the 30s, currently 28, about to be 29.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you there. I'm not extremely high on Debo Samuel.
Are you
Um,
opposed to it though?
Opposed to what?
Like, just let's say, like, hey, we got Debo Harley.
Again, it depends on what you brought him in. Like, what is the value on him? Because I'm not giving up a third round pick. I'm not giving up a fourth round pick. Fourth round pick, I'm on the ledge, But fifth round pick, okay, yeah, I'll bring him in for a fifth round pick. That's nothing for me. Like, I mean, that ain't nothing. So the Texans definitely, if they're gonna go into this deep process of looking at wide receivers on the trade market, Debo Samuel could be a cheap option in terms of the draft capital. Again, if it's only a fifth round pick, and this is just an opinion, nothing, rumored rise about the draft capital, but I would do it for a fifth round pick. But to me, he doesn't get anything more, man. You're talking about a player that's in decline. Like, he is declining because the stats speak for themselves. He's a declining player. The only thing that's really interesting about him is what you mentioned, being that Swiss Army knife. Not only does he immediately, if he became a Texan, let's say tomorrow, he's immediately wide receiver two,
Too.
but that's a low bar because we don't got nothing else. And to me, he's immediately a running back too. Like, I
Okay.
understand that he is not wanting to be the running back anymore. He wants to get away from that. I get it. I understand it. But I mean, there's still an aspect there, and I would not mind some snaps and some offensive formations where CJ Stroud's in the gun. To his left is Joe Mixon. To his right is Debo Samuel. They're
I like
back
that.
there in the gun with him. That's a pretty interesting concept there. You're giving some weapons for Nick Caley to work with. Um, I also look at it like this: Nick Caley, who was the pass game coordinator last year for the LA Rams, had Demarcus Robinson just come out with one of his best years of in his career. A older Demarcus Robinson who's 31 compared to
Mhm.
Deebo who's 29. Maybe you want to tack on some years to his age because he ran the football so much with the Niners, but I mean, Demarcus Robinson had his highest yards to receptions rate. He had 7 touchdowns. He had a damn good year, highest in receiving yards in his career. So he had a really good year for the Rams. Debo Samuel, you can't tell me like he can't do something similar, but it's to me, it's the draft capital that it's attached to it. If it's a fifth round pick, I'm all for it. And that can't be it. There has to be more that you add to the wide receiver group because when you look at Debo Samuel, he misses a few games as well too. Like, he's not fully injury prone guy, but he is going to miss a few games.
Yeah, one or
And you
two.
don't want yeah, you don't want that though in December or the playoffs because
Uh,
then you're right back to where you've been the last 2 years. The Nico Collins and a bunch of ragtags.
no, 100%. And you know how I'm gonna feel going into that game if once again I only have Nico Collins out there catching the pass for me. Um, I wouldn't say like I'm completely opposed to it. I would be interested, like you mentioned, about what new offensive coordinator Nick Caley can do with someone like Debo Samuel. But when you look at his play this year, Harley, I mean, he was targeted 81 times, only caught 51 of them. He had a case of the dropsies. He
Mhm.
looked overweight at times during the year. It's just like you don't make yourself look good if you go back and forth with the team and then your numbers fall. you look a little bit bigger, for a wide receiver. And like I mentioned, you're having a case of the drop season. You're not being the impactful player that you were in 2021 when you had almost 1,700 scrimmage yards.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm okay again with the draft capital if it is low. The only thing I am also negative on, and again, a lot of cons when it comes to Debo Samuel, is what is he going to be looking for? Because it is rumored that he would want a contract extension. And with the decline statistically going for him, I'm just not quite sure what he values himself. He definitely talks about himself a lot. I don't care about the mindset from him. I don't care because we got a guy just last year in Stephon Diggs who was supposed to be this cancerous, whirling dervish to destroy the Houston Texans locker room, and it didn't happen. I'm pretty confident in our head coach to grab almost anybody in this league that has some sort of issues, and we can go ahead and bring them here to Houston and be just fine with it. That's my only thing. Contract extension, the draft capital, excuse me, that would it would take to bring them here. Like those are the two biggest things for this team when it comes to Debo Samuel.
Oh, and I
Right.
would also say, his mindset as well, because Debo Samuel can be a head case. He is one to go to Twitter and go to
Yeah,
Instagram and show his
we've seen it.
displeasure. We've seen it. So I'm I'm gonna say no, but I would not be ragging on the deal if it does get done. I'm not gonna sit here and say the Houston Texans lost this one because I have no clue what a Debo Samuel could do here in Houston with CJ Stroud. That would absolutely, on paper it looks sexy,
Yes.
right? So you just, we'll see how it plays out. But if you're asking me, doesn't happen, I'm not too sure. And you know what, dude, I'm getting sick of having because now that we're talking about Stephon Diggs coming off of ACL up there in age, we had a
Mm,
conversation about Devontae Adams up there in age. Maybe he only wants to play in the California. Um,
mm,
and now, Debo Samuel up there in age, you cannot rely on him to, you know, give you the numbers that he did just a couple of years ago. It's like I'm moving on from these, big names. And I don't want to say has-beens because that sounds very disrespectful, but
yeah.
I I want youth. I want the unknown. Someone like a Nick Westbrook Ikine from the Tennessee Titans who had a career year touchdown wise, that does excite me. You brought up Darius Slayton. That does
Mm,
excite me. Someone who, has been plagued by horrible quarterback play his entire career, but has put up 3 to 4 700-yard seasons.
mm,
I'm looking, and you've also brought up Tutu Atwell. Spent the
yeah.
last previous years behind Cooper Cup, behind Puka Nakul, but has put up some respectable numbers, some good numbers for a wide receiver 3/4. Me, man, I'm more leaning towards the unknown, especially knowing that I won't have that much, cap space available.
Yeah, and I think of it like this as well too. When you look at Debo Samuel, what's the difference statistically with him versus what I just mentioned, Demarcus Robinson? You mentioned a
Mhm.
few guys right there as well. I mentioned Josh Palmer from the Los Angeles
Ooh,
Chargers,
love that.
who's a lot younger as well too. Like Elijah Moore from the Cleveland Browns, not another guy that's been plagued by bad quarterback
Mhm.
play.
Bad
Darius Slay,
organizations.
bad quarterback play. Nick Westbrook Akine, bad quarterback play. Like all three of them guys have had quarterbacks named Tommy DeVito, Dorian Thompson Robinson,
Daniel
and
Jones.
Will Levis, Mason Rudolph. Like that's those are the quarterbacks that've been thrown to those receivers specifically. You put them here with CJ Stroud, Westbrook Akine. I mean, the dude just had what 9 touchdowns this previous year.
Big
He's
play.
had 19 in his whole career. 9 of them came this year. So imagine
99
that.
yard touchdown against Minnesota.
Yeah, that too. Imagine that with CJ Stroud. That would be exciting, and it would excite me more, especially considering all of these wide receivers we're mentioning are so much more cheaper for the cap
Mhm.
compared to what you think you can happen with Debo Samuel, because again, he's going to want that contract extension.
Mhm. But not only that, right? Let's say you bring in one of these older, big name wide receivers.
Okay.
We're gonna say I need to see you producing as as early as training camp. I need to see you, be that name, because at the end of the day, if I do bring you here, that's exactly what type of play I think I'm gonna get for you. If I do bring in a Debo Samuel, I'm expecting I'm gonna get that 1,300 guy. Devontae Adams. That year he went crazy in terms of touchdowns. Cooper Cup, the two like that. Those are the highlights I'm gonna watch if we bring in those guys. So it's like every single week that they don't produce, we're going to be here. We're going to be complaining. We won't have that type of energy for a Nick Westbrook, Ikine. If they
Mhm.
do make a big play, we're going to feel even better about it because we know that it's not breaking the bank for this
Yes.
Houston Texans team. Low risk, high reward, I think, is the move here. And we've seen Nick Casario do, 1 to 2 year deals. So excited to see how this offseason plays out, man. I am excited for free agency. I believe now we're less than 10 days away.
Yeah, I believe so too. And to even further your point there, Nick Casario, and just a few days ago, talked about Zach Bond signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. Zach Bond was only a 1 year, $3.5 million deal,
Mhm.
and so he talked about having the same mindset of kind of implied being thrifty, being a bargain bin, taking a look at guys that are at a lower rate but could exceed the expectations and the productivity for this team. Not saying all of them will end up like Zach Bond. The dude ended up becoming a superstar for the
Uh-huh.
Philadelphia Eagles, and he is on his way to making some big time money. But I mean, that was a hell of a home run signing, like you mentioned, low risk, high reward. It was the highest of all rewards the Eagles could ask for. The Texans could look at this similarly with the wide receiver position. Again, you could grab a bunch of these guys. And personally, if I'm trading for a wide receiver, like I think Cooper Cup's a better option than Debo Samuel. I
Fair.
think I even think his running mate in San Francisco. I don't know how much truth there is to the Brandon Ayuk rumors. I know Diana Rossini talked about they were NFL teams poking around. Like
Okay.
I would rather have him than Debo Samuel. I'd rather go to the New Orleans Saints and call about Chris Olave than Debo Samuel. Like there's plenty of other options. To me, Debo's low on that list when it comes to trading for a wide receiver, free agent wide
Mhm.
receivers. There's many other people I would rather have than Debo Samuel.
Gotta agree with you there. Gotta agree with you there, man. Just like I said, you bet on yourself, you do all that talking, and then you're just on the decline the past 2 seasons. Moving on, we are in draft season, right in the middle of the NFL combine. And when you look at guys like Landry Locker and Cody Stutes on X/Twitter, we are finding out about the number of young men who have met with the Houston Texans. One of them from the Ohio State, Emeka Abuka, wide receiver. Now, when Landry Locker, I believe, asked him about CJ Stroud, he lit up and smiled. Harley, I am going to set myself up for failure. I am going to believe that the Houston Texans are going to get Emeka at 25, even though I know that's not going to happen. But I'm going to be watching those boards like a hawk. Right now, for me, he's my number one pick at 25. Just reuniting him with CJ Stroud. You talk about the type of receiver he is, great route running, a willing blocker that screams Los Angeles Rams wide receiver type. And, that's why you have Nick Caley here from the Los Angeles Rams. I like Emeka Obuka. I would want him at 25.
A, Immediately, I'm starting to gush a lot more about Emeka Egbuka at wide receiver for the Texans. Just his ability route running, but the thing that nobody really talks about is the way he blocks. Like,
Mm.
go throw on his game against Michigan State. That is his best film when it comes to blocking as a wide receiver. And Nick Caley in the Rams scheme, they are known for their wide receivers to block. Like they
Mm,
have to have a willingness to block. And that is what sets Egbuka apart for everyone else as well at number 25 for the Texans. He fits this scheme so well with Nick Caley, and CJ Stroud already has a connection with him. So, hey, this just feels like it's too good to
mm,
be true. I thought what was a great point was John Crumpler mentioning we all wanted Byron Murphy last year for the Houston Texans, and then Byron Murphy had this amazing combine,
mhm.
and it was like, oh well, that's not going to happen
Yeah,
now.
you're gone.
Like he was gone. And I feel like something similar is about to happen, just like Crumpler said. And Emeka Egbuka is going to have a really good combine. There's a lot more eyeballs watching him. He's going to show up and show out, and he might not be there at 25 anymore. Now I'm kind of, before I was like, I don't know if I would trade up for him. If he's there in the vicinity, it can't be a high trade up. But if
21.
he's in the vicinity, like if he's at 21 and you want him that bad, I'm always a fan of, if you want the guy, go get the guy.
What if CJ said, go get him?
CJ said, go get Tank. What they do.
Mm, go get Tank.
I mean, you make your quarterback happy, right? That's something the Texans know how to do now compared to a few years before. Hey, it is what it is. But yeah, man, make CJ happy. Make him happy. Emeka is a damn good player for this team.
Another surprising name that I saw here on the list, according to Landry Locker, Arizona State running back Cameron Scatterboo. Now, this excites me. Having Joe Mixon and Cam Scatterboo running the football for you, you're not going to be able to get a break if you're on the defense. You're not going to, because Joe Mixon is very punishing. Then you have a young boy in Cameron Scatterboo who became, a fan favorite during the college football playoffs. His never say die running style, it's just infectious, and it reminds you of Marshawn Lynch. Cameron Scatterboo, dude, that would excite
Please fall to the Texans on day 3.
me.
Please fall to us in day 3. Cam Scatterboo talked about how physical he is. The quote here says, punish a defender because they don't want to do it for 4 quarters. My objective at the end of the day is to get to the end zone. Like, get me him on day 3. I would be ecstatic to have a great running back pairing since, when's the last time we've had a good running back duo?
Foster and Tate.
Since, I mean, yeah, that's the only one I could think of. I was trying to think of something before that. Hey, man, don't you disrespect
Lamar and
Alfred
Alfred
Blue?
Blue.
No, that I don't care what y'all say about Lamar Miller. I don't care how much heat I got. Lamar Miller was not good. I don't care.
Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson.
Yeah, like that's the one I was kind of
But
like,
nothing
that
like
was all right.
Foster and
Foster and
Penn
Tate
State.
were special.
He almost had two
Okay,
1,000 yards rushers.
yeah, man. Cam Scatterbo had over 2,300 total yards and 24 touchdowns this year. Like, please let him fall to the 3rd round. I would be so happy.
Another name that surprised me, and this is someone that might be, late in the 1st round, definitely for sure a day 2 guy, is running back Trey Henderson from Ohio
Ah,
State. Now, this got my, it made my eyeballs raise a little bit, because it sounds like the Houston Texans might spend one of their top 3 draft picks on a RB. And I don't remember last year this much static around the running back room. Now, this is interesting, though, because they also met with USC running back Woody Marks. They met with Texas running back Jaden Blue.
yes.
Texans might be getting a young RB, and this is what we wanted last year, right? We wanted them to draft Jonathan Brooks. He went to Carolina. We had a man crush on Isaac Guerrero out of Louisville,
I
and he
wanted
went
him.
to the San Francisco 49ers and played well for them.
Yeah.
By the way, we got the poor man's version, and what was his name?
Who? George Jordan
George Jordan. Yes, we
is
got the
his running mate at Louisville.
yes, we got the poor man's version of Isaac Guerrero, Jerron Taylor. But Excited to see where the Houston Texans go, Harley. I like these running backs, man, but Trey Henderson does excite me.
Travion Henderson does excite me. When he is in the open field, my goodness, he is just so dang good at it. He's great at cutting. He's good receiving back, solid running back as well too. I mean, the meeting went well according to Travion Henderson. Another Ohio State guy would be fun to add here in Houston. And you're not just adding Ohio State people just for the sake of it. Like these guys are legitimate players
Yeah.
that are going to bring some star power to this team. And I think why the Houston Texans are looking at running back, I think the rest of the NFL is going to be looking at running back too, because according to all of the draft scouts, like one of the strengths of this draft is the running back position. They also met with Marion Hampton from North Carolina, one of the other better running backs in this draft too. Like the Texans are going, they have to take a running back this
Number
year.
58 is
Like
going to be a running back, I promise you.
they have to take a running back. It is so deep. This class is so deep at running back. It would be a disservice not to take one.
Mm. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank everyone who was a part of this episode. Hopefully, you guys go back and watch it again on this new Bleacher Report app. Um, that was Harley. I am Ruben. For more Houston, Texas content, you guys know what to do. Just come back on this new Bleacher Report app. Do us all a favor. Have a real blessed rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend.